Call on Bloomberg. We aggregate all the news you can use. Here's what's in the news headlines today. Alcoa sliding in the after hours after posting a bigger than expected loss, the second straight quarterly deficit. And what a kickoff to the earnings season. Boo. Asian stocks are sliding already after Wall Street backtracks, and Thailand expected to cut rates for the fourth consecutive time. Is that cheap money going to do the trick or not? Home prices are probably going to go flat for the rest of the year in the PRC, the assessment from one of the biggest brokers in Shanghai. Steve has been hunting for his palatial abode and is excited by the opportunity to wait this market out and see where it rots even further. And Brook McConnell from South Ocean stays with us to talk about just that very topic.
It's all relative, palatial, because moving from Hong Kong to China, everything is bigger.
How big?
China.
You haven't invited me since you went there.
Yeah, we're still trying to get the king-size bed for you, Bernie, because you won't sleep on the little futon, will you?
That aside.
Yeah, transaction volumes, Bernie, are up from late last year in China's biggest cities like Beijing and Shanghai, but prices continue to fall or remain stagnant depending on the city. So it's hard to say if this is in fact a recovery in the property market. Now, the CFO of Shanghai-based property consultancy eHouse China, Lilan Cheng, says prices won't rise until inventories are cleared, and he doesn't see that happening until sometime in 2010. He says oversupply is worst in the biggest cities like Shanghai and Beijing, while prices in the southern cities like Guangzhou and Shenzhen, which have suffered the biggest drops, are, quote, now bottoming out. Nationwide, Chinese home prices fell for a third consecutive month in February, dropping a record 1.2%. That doesn't sound like a lot, but the nationwide average of 1.2% drop is a record. eHouse says prices in top cities may have fallen another 5% in March. Property is widely considered the second main pillar of the Chinese economy after exports, which of course have fallen sharply, so the government is quite concerned about a collapse in real estate. A correction in prices after the sharp run-up in 2007 and early 2008 is okay for the government, but they are wary of a crash. Obviously, there are signs property are beginning to move again after new home buyers remained on the sidelines for much of the fourth quarter of last year, waiting for those prices to come down further. eHouse says property sales picked up after the Lunar New Year holiday in China, and it may report a more than 50% rise in volumes in the first quarter, calling that a, quote, strong rebound. eHouse's ADRs have risen about 15% in New York this year. That is compared with a nearly 1% decline for the Bank of New York Mellon China ADR index. Mortgage rates have come down in China, and the government's stimulus package is encouraging banks to lend more freely. Combine that with the lower prices, and it's all helping spur sales. The mainland A shares of property developers are benefiting as well. Many of the major residential home builders have outperformed the 33% rise in the Shanghai Composite Index so far year to date. As you can see right there, Beijing Capital Land Development up 121%. Chinese developers listed here in Hong Kong, the 8 shares too have outperformed the local index. On optimism, the market is picking up. Soho China at the bottom of the list, one of the worst performers, up 8%. It had an 80% fall in profit last year, though analysts expect profit, though, to rebound sharply this year. And anecdotal evidence, Bernie and Brook, what I've seen is real estate agents in Beijing, at least, are a little more active, getting a lot more clients coming through the door. Transaction volumes up, prices coming down. That's getting people in the door.
God, they're crawling over the lobby in my building here too. It's like when the when the storm is here, you notice how the mosquitoes or the big dragonflies are out and about. We were talking to Brook earlier why he's buying like feminine napkins, not personally, coal, dairy. Educational, electronic toys,
but not property.
But not property.
Right. Why?
That's the hardest. That's the hardest asset you can own. What?
Well, everybody should own a home. I agree with that. But property developers, what are you buying? You're buying a development over 3 years that you may get a big Bernie's boost, and you don't know what's going to happen over 3 years. So I'm not able to value them except on an NAV basis. And I only buy them when they're at 30% below their NAVs. Mm-hmm. Can you broaden it out a little bit and say, how do you play the economic stimulus package and how that money is floating into the real economy now? Great question. That's probably the one where everybody's after. I'm not sure it goes into the property developers. I think they're mainly high-end kind of things, and I think the stimulus is more aimed at the lower end, trying to get the middle and lower classes housed. So that's a tough question. I'm really kind of hesitant to say you buy concrete or wood or anything like that.
Yeah, well, how about then concrete, wood? Do you go into the building materials makers?
Yeah. And I'm not ready to go venture into those areas right yet with my funds yet.
I didn't realize we were having a chat about feng shui here today and the earth elements, but but you're also dealing with stuff that can disappear very quickly. Hang 10 Group? Are we talking about the shorts and T-shirts?
That's the group. Yeah, American brand that's been taken over by a group here.
Oh, and you prefer that to the basics in life, like we were just talking?
This is the low end. This is
I'm not being skeptical.
This is not a Tiffany.
I'm just being really skeptical. That's all.
This is not, high end. It's low end. It actually works better. A woman may not buy a $2,000 blouse, but maybe will buy a $400 or $500 blouse. And these are low end. They're actually doing well.
This is true. You know, Gucci's giving way to the Gap.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Are you playing into the China consumer story? Because the export thing has absolutely collapsed.
Clearly,
so the Chinese obviously focusing more on boosting domestic consumption, getting a lot of the household savings, which is astronomical compared to the States.
True.
But that's what you're really playing here.
Yeah, and if I could play tourism, I'd like to do that. You walk around town here; it's just all mainlanders here. It's incredible where that industry's going. So it's tourism, it's domestic consumption. I like agriculture. I think that's just a terrific business model in China. Our largest holdings in that area.
Can I throw one last one in here very quickly? We saw it at the G20 when President Hu and President Sarkozy were going at each other's necks. Okay, I mean the imagery in itself is quite disturbing, but they were talking about tax havens, and how each locale, how each domain wants to be labeled, doesn't want to be labeled. Obama kind of had to intervene, but this whole protectionist thing. Remember the Buy American thing that started? This is going to be an issue. It won't go away. It's going to be an issue protecting the American worker, the rank and file, the grassroots at the expense of whatever China does. Is trade dead as a theme for the time?
There's been books written that the movement of manufacturing into China actually benefits the U.S. I don't think that's going to change. You got $17 an hour costs there and $1 an hour here. That's just too big an arbitrage to stop. It's still moving this way. Whether I don't think the bill will stop it. It would be pretty draconian measures to really stop that whole movement. We're in a global world. We're talking to people all around the world. You're doing business all around the world. So it's.
You think the tone is going to change out of Washington, though? John McCain and Lindsey Graham, I know, are in Beijing tomorrow. They'll be giving a press conference. It'll be interesting what they have to say on the protections front, given that the U.S. is in such a dire shape. Yeah,
I think it'd be hard-pressed for any administration to backtrack on globalism. It's going to be really tough. Whether they get anything through, there'll be little pieces like steel was by Bush. And instances, but I don't think the overall trend is going to be backed.
Brook, fine man. Always good talking to you.